very much, Trey. Thanks for inviting me to come up. It's been a fascinating day so far, and hopefully I won't drop the ball too badly. So what I want to do, as Trey said, I just kind of contextualise what we're going to talk about here. I'd like to start by indulging myself in a few minutes about what we do at the Centre for Surf Research at San Diego State, and then present some of the information that's come out with a book that I'm putting together with a guy from Plymouth University's Surfing and Sustainability Research Group. So I'll just get started. That's kind of the structure. I already talked about that. And there's Rob Machado's Zen hair that we were talking about before with Sam. It's a little bit of Zen to start with. So at the Centre for Surf Research, we're primarily concerned with the sustainability of surf tourism. And we're actively researching how sustainable surf tourism is, the different ways that it's managed in a number of different countries. I have a bunch of them listed there, and I'd be happy to talk about any of those if anybody's got any questions about it later. One of the other things that we do is we're rolling out a sustainable surf tourism certification program which works with surf resorts. The mainstream tourism industry has had sustainability certification for some time. It almost always tackles resorts and hotels of 100 rooms or more, because at that level people have the money to pay for it and it makes better economic sense. And I've had the CEOs of those companies come and give guest lectures in my class, and every time they say that, I think, well, that means that every single surf resort in the world pretty much falls between the cracks, because they're generally all small and they're always in fragile environments. So it would be good if we had something that specifically catered to them. So I've been working for about 3 years with a handful of resorts and have based this on the global sustainable tourism criteria, which is at the basis of pretty much all the sustainable tourism certification programs. But it's very heavily tweaked and expanded to suit surf tourism resorts. There's 140 different metrics that we apply to surf resorts, and we'll be launching this over the next couple of months. We haven't marketed it or put it out there publicly yet, but the website will be going up, so the web developers tell me, 3 weeks ago, and then 3 weeks from now, and then possibly by the end of November, so we'll see. Surf Credits is another program that we run from the Centre for Surf Research. You may have seen this if you were paying attention to the bottom corner of your webcast screen for the Fiji Volcom Pro, the Volcom Pipe Pro, the Oakley Pro in Bali, the Vans US Open of Surfing, the Vans East Coast Surfing Classic, and if you pay attention during the Triple Crown this year, you might see it as well. The idea with Surf Credits is that it leverages the webcast audiences to donate money to non-profit organisations that do environmental and humanitarian work in the destinations that the surf contests are held at. And it does this by incentivising people to donate. A surf credit is $25, and for the $25 you spend on the surf credit, you get a $25 discount from 5 online retailers, and you get entered into a draw to win a high-value surf trip, generally to the place that the surf contest has been held in. So we launched it at the Volcom Fiji Pro in 2012. The incentive trip was a week for 2 at Tavarua. And of course that year was pretty special. It's been talked about a couple of times already. That was the year when Cloudbreak just went absolutely frickin' mental, and loads of people were watching the webcast. So we did quite well with surf credits that year. We supported 2 different organisations. One was putting water filters in Fijian villages. The other was this organisation, the Laloma Foundation, which was investing the money in backpacks for school children in disadvantaged areas of Fiji. The backpacks were full of a year's worth of school supplies for them. That's Derek Sabori, the VP of Sustainability from Volcom, where we presented the cheque for just over $6,000 to the Laloma Foundation, and they went out and spent that in Fiji, and that's what success looks like. So the Triple Crown is the next contest, and we've been doing an okay job of building this out by working with the brands that sponsor the World Championship Tour, because they, to this point, have been responsible for the webcasts. You may know that the ASP was recently bought out by a company headed by Kelly Slater's manager known as Zosi Media, and they will now control all of the broadcast rights for the World Championship Tour moving forward, which means that the last 3 years that we spent developing relationships with the brands to get this up was kind of pointless now. We have presented the idea to the New Look ASP of running surf credits at every World Championship Tour contest in 2014. They are currently digesting that idea and are being a little slow in getting back to us, but we'll see, there's a chance. One of the other things we do is run conferences. I know some of the people in the room have been to some of these conferences. In 2011 we had the Audacity of Stoke, was the first conference that we ran. In 2012 we hosted Glenn Hennings' Groundswell Society SASIC conference with the theme Surfing's New Aloha, the growing trend of giving back. So all of these were corporate social responsibility and sustainability focused conferences. The latest one we staged was Surf Park Summit in Laguna. Drew was there and put together an incredible piece of art for that. We raised money for a local cause, and that also had a sustainability theme where we were really trying to inject into the conversation about the burgeoning surf park industry that, hey, you guys should really be thinking about sustainability front, centre and early, so that this doesn't just become a heinous, polluting form of recreation. It could be something really good, but it needs to be thought about early. One of the latest things that we've done, I've been dreaming about this for some time, but I've always really enjoyed surf tourism, and that's why I've tried to make a career out of studying it. And I've found that I learn shit really well when I'm excited about where I am. And I think that that can apply to college students. If we can leverage their passion for surfing and coastal and marine environments in world-class surfing destinations, I think that we can really change their lives by teaching them the tenets of sustainability and environment where they're going to be really, really open to receiving that message. So Groundswell Educational Travel is the result of a lot of thinking. And the idea is to do just that, take students into world-class surfing destinations, leverage their passion for surfing and coastal environments to teach broader sustainability principles, to create a new generation of environmental activists and create new good global citizens. And I don't think that that's a stretch. Our first trip is going to be in January. We're going to take students to Bocas del Toro in Panama. We'll be taking another group of students to Nicaragua in spring break in March, and we're toying around with 3 or 4 different destinations for the summer break of 2014. And we're definitely looking to develop new classes, and we're seeking partner faculty and institutions. So Isaiah, would love to talk to you, same with you, Tom, about whether we can do something along these lines. We'd love to bring you guys students and learn what you guys have to teach. So let's chat. One of the other things I've been working on is an edited book called Sustainable Stoke: Transitions to Sustainability in the Surfing World. And I can see from this particular conference that we missed a lot of key players in this conversation, but this is just volume 1. More than 40 people contributed to this, and it's meant to be a discursive snapshot of what's going on in the surfing world right now from a multiple stakeholder perspective. What do people think is happening in the surfing world with regards to sustainability? What are the trends? What are the roadblocks? And what are the opportunities for pursuing a sustainable future for surfing? And I think the result, we're like 2 months behind on submitting it to the publisher, but it's going to happen. It's happening very soon. I was working on the introduction on the plane on the way up here, and I got some really good work done because we were delayed because somebody shot someone at LA. That was fortuitous, I guess. So what I want to do now is just go through some of the information that came out through some of the people who wrote for this book and follow some of these trends and take us through a few stages from a bunch of different stakeholder perspectives. First of all, the industry position, and the title of this panel was something to do with SIMA and environmentalism and surfer activism. So one of the people who contributed was actually Doug Palladini, who's the president of SIMA, as well as Bob McKnight, former CEO and current executive chairman of the board for Quicksilver, and Sean Thompson, who I think straddles a couple of different stakeholder positions here, but he's very much been an industry insider, as well as a surfer who was probably the first professional surfer to support environmental causes. But what came out was the industry, at least rhetorically, gets that they need to protect the surfing environment. And it was almost like they'd all rehearsed this together because it came out almost word for word. Sean said, without a clean beach and without access to the ocean, you're not going to have a business. Bob McKnight said, if there are not clean oceans and safe beaches, we don't have an industry anymore. Doug Palladini said, "We live and die by the health of the ocean, the health of the beaches around it, and the health of the entire coastal environment. We don't have an industry without it." So they get it, at least rhetorically, and they're all singing from the same hymn book. So that's encouraging in some ways. I asked Doug what he thought SIMA's role was in all of this, which was kind of interesting. And he said that SIMA's role is twofold. He thought that the biggest obstacle to sustainability in the surf industry was education, and that SIMA did a good job of tackling that. And they do their education in two ways. They run a series of educational boot camps for the surf industry each year. One of these is given over to sustainability. Unfortunately, this year, this was after I'd spoken with Doug and he told me about these, this year's sustainability boot camp was going to be run by Sustainable Surf, who have the Eco Board program. And that boot camp was cancelled due to a lack of interest from participants from the surf industry, which is a real shame. They also incorporate sustainability into their annual surf industry summit that they do in Cabo San Lucas each year. The other way that SIMA contributes to sustainability is through its environmental fund, and they raise money through an event that they put on each year and give money away to organisations that are at the coalface and doing the actual work. So they support non-profits that do the actual work of environmentalism in the coastal and marine environments, and they've given away millions of dollars over the last 15 years. Corporate sustainability governance in surfing. This is another interesting thing that came out in talking to some of the corporate guys from surfing. And you know you're successful when you have portraits of yourself. And Bob was a really nice guy. I did like Bob. He said that brands went down the sustainability path a few years ago. He said 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of the brands were coming out with sustainable kinds of products, and what they found was the market wasn't ready for it. That the prices were a little high, they weren't selling, people got stuck with inventory that they couldn't sell, and most brands have taken a step back from those initiatives. He also talked about the decentralisation of sustainability governance within Quicksilver. When Bob stepped aside and Andy Mooney took over, a couple of things caught my attention as to what had happened with the Quicksilver reshuffle. One was that the Quicksilver initiative, which was their sustainability initiative that had a guy overseeing that, was shut down, and the guy who'd been running it was let go. And Bob said that they decided to kind of remove that position and transfer the responsibility of sustainability to individual divisions rather than have somebody oversee all of those different divisions, and they thought that that was going to be more effective. Which was a different position to some of the other companies that contributed to the book. The Quicksilver Foundation, which had done a really pretty good job of supporting a lot of non-profits around the world, was scaled back, and the guy who was the full-time director of that foundation was also let go during their reshuffle. Doug Palladini, this time not speaking as president of SIMA, but rather the vice president general manager of Vans Americas, said that consumers don't want to pay more for sustainability and they don't want it shoved down their throats. So their approach was to really build sustainability into their products, but not really go up to the rooftops and crow about it. They didn't think that that was going to be effective. They've taken a different approach to Quicksilver, as has Volcom, and they've centralised sustainability governance by creating a new Director of Sustainability position. Then there were folks who were critiquing the surf industry. And a lot of the critiques were fairly harsh. I've just selected a couple of examples here. These are not at the harsher end of the scale. If you want a good laugh, the book will be coming out soon. Sean Thompson said that the surf companies have done terribly badly in terms of sustainability. It shouldn't just be profit, sales and growth. Their mission should be to inspire people to surf. He really thought that the surf companies had lost their way and lost touch with what the original mission was, and that was kind of the root problem with the lack of sustainability initiatives in the surf industry today. He thought environmental organisations are just not getting the support from the surfing industry that they should, and that most pro surfers are totally disengaged from organisations like Surfrider. Now, we have one example on our panel, but I think that still rings pretty true for most competing surfers, the most high-profile surfers on the World Championship Tour. Pierce Kavanagh also was a contributor. If you don't know Pierce, he made the film Manufacturing Stoke and is the founder of the San Diego Surf Film Festival and a manic and rabid body surfer, and terribly into sustainable surfboard and hand plane construction, all around good guy. He wrote that he gives the surf industry an F- for its sustainability performance to date. He quoted Glenn Henning, who appeared in his film Manufacturing Stoke, and he said, "You could make the case for Walmart being greener than Quicksilver, and you could make that case pretty easily." Glenn Henning is the founder of Surfrider Foundation, for those of you who weren't aware. But he also mentioned that the surf industry is not the beating heart of the surfing community. And his point was that it doesn't really matter that much to the larger surfing picture if the surf companies aren't playing ball in the ways that we want them to, because the surfing community is something different, bigger, larger, and more important than all of that. And he pointed to many examples of surfer activists doing all kinds of things. And we have examples all over this panel. And in about 2 minutes on the plane when I was putting this presentation together, I came up with that list, and it's just scratching this. I could spend another 2 minutes and come up with just as many. All of these organisations are doing really cool things, are run by surfers outside of the surfing industry, making real impacts on the ground. So we finish up the book with a call to action from some of surfing's, not quite sure what to call them, let's call them senior statesmen, and use that term with a pinch of salt. Brad Farmer is the founder of Surfrider Foundation Australia. He also founded National Surf Reserves, which eventually, perhaps in some ways, led to World Surfing Reserves, which is now based out of Santa Cruz. And he said, "We can be consumer-absorbed bystanders witnessing the coastal and surfing experience coming under increasing pressures leading to an environment possibly unrecognisable in our lifetimes, or be the change ourselves." And just to point out, some of the folks in these pictures will be familiar to you, Lane Beachley and Kelly Slater, but Brad really does manage to engage at the level of high politics. And this is a picture from Manly with the declaration of the World Surfing Reserve. That's the Duke board that Duke Kahanamoku introduced surfing to Australia on in 1914. Standing next to Brad is the Mayor of Manly. Standing next to Kelly Slater is the Attorney General of Australia, and standing next to her is the Prime Minister of Australia. So he's engaging at a fairly high level and getting these folks on board with the surfing's environmental agendas, and that was the declaration of a World Surfing Reserve. Rabbit Bartholomae, controversial figure certainly, but has become something of a surfing statesman in Australia who started to stand up for the environment and get a little bit involved at the political level. He wrote a fantastic piece that's actually part of the introduction to the book. And he finished it by saying, "Surfers need to step up. They're generally the great silent majority who grumble amongst themselves but step back from agitating politicians and council departments. The time has come to be a united voice, to stand up for our surf amenity, wave quality, and the sustainable future of what we love to do." Finally, Fred Hemmings probably doesn't need an introduction. He wrote also a very thoughtful piece for the book, and in that he said, "Our sport is yet to command the respect and support necessary to sustain and protect the broader ocean environment and surf sites in particular. Surfers should be sitting at the table as or with civic leaders when decisions are made about environmental issues." So in conclusion, the industry gets it, at least rhetorically, but hasn't done a really great job of operationalising that into a sustainability or environmental protection agenda. There is frustration in the surf community with the inaction of the industry. Despite this, many activist groups are doing great work. And finally, some of surfing elder statesmen are giving us a call to political power and influence that I think goes a bit beyond surfer activism on the level of non-profits and kind of challenges us to move within the halls of power and sit down at those tables where people are making decisions about our resources, the natural resources, the places that we love and that we operate and recreate in. And to make sure that we're there and that we're having a say and that we are in positions where we can actually protect those natural assets. But we have a whole bunch of leaders from this new wave of activism sitting right at this table over here, so I'm going to get out of the way and let's hear from some of them. Again, that's me, and my email address is there if anybody wants to get in touch about anything. Thank you.